Welcome to Expand Your Empire, the podcast where women stop deferring wealth and start building financial power. I'm Amanda Taylor, investor, strategist, and disruptor of outdated money rules. It's time to own your worth, grow your assets, and build a legacy that lasts.
So I am coming to you today from gorgeous Hilo, Hawaii, where I've only been for about a day and a half, and I unfortunately have to leave very early tomorrow morning. But I was honored to speak today at the University of Hawaii. I get to speak all over the world. I've done it in some very amazing places and pretty excited today to be in Hawaii doing that in front of a bunch of amazing women. And it's always not so much about what I say on stage, because you guys get to hear me say that all the time. But I want to share with you today about what happened after I got off the stage, because it's exactly why this episode exists, why this podcast exists. A handful of women came up to me. And it's not to tell me how great I am. It's not to ask me about my presentation. They came up to say thank you. And the thing they are thanking me for, it's not some clever framework or some statistic they hadn't seen before. They thanked me because I said out loud the thing they'd been thinking about privately. The thing that they've been saying in their minds. And I've been sitting with that because if you are a grown, accomplished, financially capable woman and someone says something out loud that you've been holding privately and your response is relief, it's not about me. That is about the fact that nobody else said it first. So that's what this episode is. I'm just going to say the thing. So welcome back to Expand Your Empire. I am Amanda Taylor, and we are in the middle of a series called From Paychecks to Portfolios. And if you caught episode 1, you know we talked about why income is not the same as wealth, why you can earn really well and still not be building anything. So if that episode hit for you, this one's going to hit harder, because we're going underneath the numbers today. And we are in the control layer of the framework. And before we get to the how of that control, I need to talk about the why. Why do so many capable women struggle to actually take control of their money, even when they clearly have the skills and the income to do it? That is where we start. Most of us have a very complicated relationship with wanting money, not earning it, wanting it. There is a difference, and I think we skip over that distinction constantly. Earning, we were taught work hard, be excellent, deliver results, collect that paycheck. We did what we were told, and we got really good at it. Most of you listening are proof of that. But wanting to accumulate money, wanting to build something that compounds and grows and creates options that do not depend on your next client or your next promotion, now that feels different. Suddenly that feels like wanting too much, like wanting something that's not okay to want. It's greedy, it's selfish. You're not grateful enough for what you have. And the tricky part is that we also want it genuinely. We want the freedom we want to stop running the numbers in our head every time there's an unexpected expense. We want to stop making decisions from scarcity. We want our kids to inherit something real and not just advice. We want to build something that doesn't require our constant presence to survive. So we're sitting in this split. Afraid of the wanting and also doing the wanting, feeling guilty about it, and also not ready to give up. And what happens when you want something you also feel guilty about? You have to do it. You make timid decisions, and then You wonder why you're not making progress. You avoid looking at your numbers because looking at them, it makes the wanting too real, and that real triggers the guilt. So we've talked about this, you undercharge because asking for more feels like taking. You put everything back into the business because keeping profit feels selfish when there are still problems to solve. So I'm not going to spend this whole episode in the psychology because we've done that before. We'll do it again. But I just need you to name it. Because here's what I know from working with women across every income level. The fear, it doesn't just stay in your head. It shows up in your decisions, it shows up in your structure, and specifically it shows up in your cash flow. You cannot make clear financial decisions from an emotionally conflicted place. The ambivalence, it leaks into how you price, how you pay yourself, whether you have a financial system or just a financial situation. It leaks into whether you know your numbers or whether you kind of know your numbers, which is really not the same thing. And that is the bridge to what we are doing today. So we're in the control layer of my framework, which is earn, control, own, and multiply. 4 layers. And we're on layer 2. And I want to explain why control is where the permission problem either gets resolved or gets worse. Because without it, here's what the cycle looks like. Income is unpredictable. Some months are great, some months you're managing. The good months feel like relief, and the slow months feel like proof that you are not as solid as you thought, and you never quite get traction because you're always responding to what just happened instead of directing what happens next. And what does that do to the guilt and the fear that we just talked about? It feeds them. Because if your relationship with money is already complicated, unpredictable income is the worst possible environment for it to confirm every anxious thought. It makes wanting more feel dangerous because you don't even have it stable now. Control breaks that loop. Control is not about having a lot of money. It's about knowing what your money is doing before it surprises you. It's about having a structure that doesn't require your best month to stay functional. It's making decisions from your data instead of whatever your bank account looks like on the 15th. So the principle here is you cannot scale what you cannot predict. If you don't know right now what your revenue baseline looks like over the next 90 days, you're not running a financial strategy, you're running on optimism. And optimism is not a cash flow plan. So here's what I see with women specifically, and I'm going to say this very plainly because it's very true. We tend to be better earning when we're controlling. We're resourceful. We are relational. We know how to generate revenue. You give us a problem and we find a way to bring money in. But we have not been taught to structure it, to systematize it, to build the kind of predictability that does not depend on our effort or our relationships or our best month. That gap between earning and controlling is where a lot of financial anxiety actually lives. It's not even in the income number. It's in the unpredictability of it. And that matters for the woman who's also building on the investment side. Your real estate, your funds, your assets outside of your business. If you're investing, again, from whatever's left over from a good month, you're not building wealth, you are hoping for it, and there is a difference. Wealth building requires that stable foundation, and that foundation, it is control. So here's your action coming out of this episode. I've got 4 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly and notice what comes up. So question number 1 is, what is your recurring revenue right now? Not total revenue, recurring. The money that you know is coming before the month starts. What is that number, and what percentage of it is your total income? Question number 2, what does your baseline cost to operate look like? Now, that's not your best case. That's not projections. If this were a slow month, what does it actually cost to keep your business running? Number 3, what is the gap between those two numbers? Your recurring revenue minus your operating baseline. That gap, that's your financial exposure. That is the number that you're managing emotionally every single month. Now, question 4, what is one offer, one structure, one client relationship that you could shift to increase that recurring percentage? One thing, not a full overhaul, but one strategic move. And see, here's the part I want you to pay attention to. How did it feel to answer those questions? Because if there was avoidance, if you found yourself wanting to estimate loosely instead of getting really specific, or skip ahead before fully sitting with that number, that is not a math problem. That is the permission problem from episode 1, previous to this, showing up in your structure. And that's exactly the most useful information you have, because now you know where you're working from. And that is where the real work starts. So here is where I want to leave you. The fear and the wanting they're not opposites. They're both real and they're both yours. You're allowed to want financial security. You're allowed to want more than just enough. You're allowed to build something that outlasts your best revenue year. And the way through the fear is not to just talk yourself out of it. It is to build a structure solid enough that the fear, it doesn't have to run the show anymore. Your control does that. A predictable, intentional cash flow. It doesn't make you rich overnight, but it gives you a foundation you can actually stand on. And when you stop managing anxiety with your money decisions, you start making decisions from clarity. And this is where wealth actually starts. So next week, we're moving into the own layer of the framework, which means we shift from income to assets. We go from what you earn to what you hold. From a great year to a lasting position. This is where the long game begins. Okay, so I will see you there. And when we start talking about owning, this is what I talked about today, we move into investing. That is a thing that gets scary. People think, I don't have that finance degree. I don't speak that language. I don't have money. I had a woman come up to me today and say, sometimes I don't know if I can buy toilet paper. How do you expect me to start investing? We're going to talk about that next week. And we also talk about that in my new course, Investing 101. We had an episode about that a while back. I expanded it into a 6-module course where we go deep into that from a real level. No finance bro talk, none of that stuff, but we just talk. Not just about the assets, not just about the vocabulary, not just about the money, but our actual internal emotional capacity for investing and where to start when we don't think we have enough to start. So check out the link. It is in the show notes. I look forward to continuing this series with you. How we go from earning and just spinning our wheels, creating income that depends on us, to controlling how it comes in and how it goes out, to really taking ownership of things that make our money make money. And then how do we multiply that? I look forward to seeing you here next week. Until next time, aloha and keep building.
If this lit something up, share it, review it, and get in the room. Join the Expand Your Empire community and start turning wisdom into wealth. You're not too late, and you're not doing this alone.